Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X. Also, remember that we're now on TV. Tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch a moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All episodes are now available on demand. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android TV to access the past shows. Today, we have a great lineup for you. As usual, a mix of celebrities, impressive citizens, VIPs, and tons of fun. Our guests are quite amazing. In our influencer segment, we are featuring Tonee Marino, an 18-year-old independent rapper, singer-songwriter from right here, Long Island, New York. He focuses on R&B, hip hop, and pop. And today, he joins me to chat about the recent tragedy that unfolded at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival. He will give us his point of view and talk to us about how he keeps up with his own fans. In our Innovation and Tech segment, brought to you by Caldwell Soames, we have returning contributor Paul Caldwell, Chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames. He introduces us to Nate Lewis, who is currently the VP of Development at Operation Underground Railroad, and Susan Giacona, Executive VP of United to One. Now, United to One is integrating the OG Pay platform to easily or more easily facilitate donations during this gift-giving season. OG Pay is revolutionizing the fight against human trafficking, and they are using the NFT crypto craze to do it. In the Scandals segment, we are featuring returning contributor, legal analyst, and expert Imran Ansari of ABK Law. We're going to be chatting about the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery and how 3 white Georgia men stand accused of murdering Mr. Arbery, who was a 25-year-old unarmed Black man, after they suspected him of committing a series of break-ins in their neighborhood right outside of the coastal city of Brunswick in South Georgia. Now, all 3 men who have been detained in Glynn County, Georgia jail for more than a year face possible life sentences. Now, in other news, and this is very fitting as Tonee and I will be discussing this in just a few moments, Khloe Kardashian is slammed for making Kyle Rittenhouse comments amid the Astroworld silence that she has taken. Now, that's 2 headers in one. Boy, these Kardashians always make news. Khloe is being criticized on Twitter for seemingly commenting on the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict amid ongoing controversy stemming from Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival tragedy. Now, the reality star has been criticized in the past for not commenting on the incident that happened at the Astrofest back in Houston, Texas, earlier in November. And after a dangerous crowd surged, it resulted in the deaths of 10 people. However, following the verdict in the high-profile trial of Rittenhouse, she quickly took to Twitter to seemingly share her thoughts. Speechless and disgusted is what she wrote. While she didn't say specifically what she was referencing, many believe that she was joining the chorus of celebrities who were commenting on the fact that Rittenhouse, 18-year-old, was found not guilty on all counts, avoiding a potential life sentence on charges of first-degree intentional homicide after he fatally shot 2 people and injured a 3rd person during the second night of civil unrest in Kenosha back in August. Now, although Khloe was not in attendance at Astroworld and is only connected to Travis Scott by way of her sister Kylie Jenner, who has a child with the rapper, it didn't take long before people called out Khloe and demanded that she exhibit similar sentiments for the Astroworld victims. Now, previously, Khloe caught backlash for posting a series of sultry pictures to her social media account, and this was shortly after the incident took place at Astroworld. The Keeping Up with the Kardashians star, who by the way is 37 years old now, was immediately ripped by fans who flooded the comment section of her post with a lot of criticism. Several people called the picture tone deaf and questioned her timing as heartbreaking details continued to emerge. Kinda cold, Khloe, kinda cold. Well, up next to continue the Astroworld fiasco chat is Tonee Marino in the influencer segment. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go to get your spin on. Go to get your spa on. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go for the stakes and the steak. Isn't it time you found a better view in Atlantic City? Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up in just a few, we have our influencer segment, and we are featuring Tonee Marino. He's an 18-year-old independent rapper, singer, songwriter from Long Island, New York. Today, he joins me to talk about the recent tragedy that unfolded at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival earlier this month that left 8 people dead and dozens injured. As the crowd surged, the Houston show was so packed that when audience members were pushed towards the stage, they were crushed to the point where they couldn't breathe and passed out. Others were trampled as calls for help were drowned out by the music. Now, Travis stopped the show at least 3 times to ask for help for concert goers in the crowd, though some have criticized him and organizers for allowing it to continue. A criminal investigation of the tragedy is now in its early stages. Now, subsequently, at a Rolling Loud performance back in 2019, this is some food for thought, A$AP Rocky stopped a performance mid-set when he noticed some people had fallen. The rapper continued yelling at the crowd to back up and calm down before he began performing again. Now, in this case, Travis Scott was unable to control his crowd. Authorities are still investigating what caused the surges in the audience of 50,000 plus people and how that contributed to the mass casualty event, which lasted, by the way, for estimated 40 minutes. Now, here's something very interesting. Officials worried that ending the show sooner could have caused a riot. Now, Travis Scott said he would cover all funeral costs for those who died at Astroworld, while also providing refunds to all attendees who bought tickets. Here to help me break it all down is Tonee Marino, rapper, singer, songwriter from Long Island, New York. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. What's going on, Zen?
What's going on with you? What craziness is this? Now, you're a performer. You're an influencer of sorts. You have a huge social media following. In fact, you're just performing in shows right now. You're traveling. Your schedule is quite hectic. Tell me from your perspective, what do you think could have been done to prevent this kind of tragedy?
I mean, first and foremost, rest in peace to all the people and the lives that were lost that night. Many blessings and love to the families and friends of those people. It's hard to say because it's like Travis Scott being such a big artist, and he also brought out Drake, who's, like the biggest artist out. Like these crowds, like it's normal for them, like thousands on thousands of people, and and he's got like such a crazy energy when he performs. Like he's one of the most renowned performers in the rap industry, just known for like having the most hype crowds, the most hype songs. So it's like, it's really not new for him to have people going crazy like that for him. So, I don't know. It's just crazy. It's really unfortunate. And I'd hate to be the one to point fingers at whose fault it is, because I couldn't really tell you because I wasn't there. But, I don't know, because like you said, even if you did stop it earlier, people would have went crazy and got
Right,
mad
exactly. Like
because,
when
right,
you're up on stage, right, you have a certain amount of control, I'm assuming, over the crowd. But then when you're as big as Travis Scott and you have 50,000 people in a room, you can only control so much. So the
yeah,
question is, should they have had more security on the floor? Travis Scott knows the crowds he attracts. He knows that people get very excited, they get very involved. So the question is, where was that extra security on ground? And as a performer, the responsibility, in my opinion, just like being on somebody's movie set where tragically, the Alec Baldwin thing just happened not long ago.
yeah.
It's up to the performers, it's up to the producers to make sure that it's a safe environment for all. So I do think there is a level to blame on both sides. But again, we're not pointing fingers. It's just casual talk. Now, you started at a very young age. You started basically, you're 18 now. So that means that your first single was dropped at 12 years old. Walk me through what inspired you to, at such a young age, want to basically leave it all behind and focus just on music.
So, I mean, growing up, like, my whole life, music was like the biggest thing. Like I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, Drake, Chris Brown, like just so inspired. And I've always like just went through life listening to music, whether I was doing homework, sports, like anything, you know. So music's always been a part of my life. And one day I just figured, let me take it up as something like, you know, a hobby or career. I didn't take it as serious as I do now at first, but eventually I had the help of some writers when I first started. I just put out a couple singles here and there, nothing crazy. Like I was probably putting out 2 or 3 a year. And then as time went on, I just got more and more invested into it. And that leads to now where I'm writing my own music, producing my own beats, engineering in the studio. One of my latest songs I just recorded, I actually recorded myself too in the house. I also started editing my own music videos. So I've just been growing as an artist, as a person, and you know.
So now you're basically a one-man show, and your career has been steadily growing with a lot of views on YouTube. You have a lot of interaction on social media. You've collaborated on tracks with, you know, 4-time platinum recording artists. You're very versatile, I would say, especially after I checked out your stuff. What advice do you have to the average uh, person out there who says, hey, listen, I want to focus on music and I want to go out there and do it? What is the most important thing people need to remember going down this path?
It's honestly really basic, but it really is the truth. Hard work and persistency, and I mean consistency, like just being very persistent. And you know, the more you do something, eventually you're gonna get better at it. So it's like you just gotta believe in yourself, no matter how many people doubt you. Because I had nobody's support when I first started.
So tell me about that. Tell me about nobody supporting you. So you have been at this for since you're 12, you're 18 now, and you're touring, or who books your shows, and
Uh,
how does
I
that
just
work?
get no. I get a lot of people who reach out and want me to pop out to events and just do performances here and there. But I honestly probably would have been touring if it wasn't for COVID. I was really doing well and doing a lot of shows, and unfortunately, COVID messed up everything last year. So
Yeah, you and everybody else. So what about your parents? Are they supportive?
yeah, most definitely, my parents are the most supportive out of anybody. My parents are my biggest supporters.
Good. And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother and an older sister. They're very supportive as well. But yeah, like I was saying, for any artist, if you feel like you have no hope and you know you've been trying and you're not seeing any growth or you're not seeing people going out of their way to support you, it's like it happens to everybody. Everybody's been at that point at one time. So like you just gotta believe. As long as you believe in yourself and you think that this is something you want to do for the rest of your life, and you're gonna take it serious and you're gonna put in the work that is needed to be put in to get to where you want to go, then you can make it happen. Anybody can.
Well, there you go. You said it. And you are living proof, right? At 18 years old. So do you plan on at some point going back to school and studying something, or is this the path and there's no plan B?
No, there's no plan B. It's just this, like, because I have faith in myself, and you know I pray, and I, things have been going well lately, and I've just been growing. So just a matter of time in my eyes.
No, absolutely. But you're doing good. Okay, let's do a little bit of music trivia. Are you good with that? We'll do some Q&A about music industry. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Which Britain's Got Talent star had the biggest selling album in the world in 2009?
Um, wow, that's tough. Uh,
Okay, I'll move on to something. The answer is Susan Boyle. I'll move on to something
oh yeah, I
simpler.
wouldn't. I wouldn't have known.
Who had hits with Music, Hung Up, and What It Feels Like for a Girl,
Hmm.
or Like a Virgin?
Man, Madonna.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, Where Is the Love was a breakout hit in 2003 for which US hip hop group? Was it the Black Eyed Peas or was it Pearl Jam?
You said it was the title was "Where Was the Love."
Where Is the Love?
Oh, where is the love? The choices were Black Eyed Peas and
Pearl Jam.
I said Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. What was the Back to Black was a best-selling album for which singer? Amy
I've not.
Winehouse or Whitney Houston?
Amy Winehouse.
Yes, you got it. All right,
Yeah.
good. See, look, you're doing pretty good. Okay, let me do one more. What Australian singer, all right, Can't Get You Out of My Head sang that song?
Um,
Kylie Minogue or Tiffany?
Tiffany.
No, Kylie Minogue.
Oh, too young for this. I have no idea.
I'm teasing. It's okay. You know what? These questions are usually more generationally inclined, but you should, yeah. I mean, that was the 2000s. You should have known that stuff. Hey, come on there, Tonee. What's going on?
I was 4 years old back then.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing. We didn't expect you to know that that's what it's called, trivia. But listen, thank you for coming on the show and chatting with us. It was a pleasure having you. Will you come back and do this again sometime?
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure working with you.
You got it. Guys, you have to check out Tonee. Tonee's music is amazing. He's all over the gram. Tonee with two E's, Tonee Marino. He's an amazing recording artist. Check out his music. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Zen Sounds right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go to get your spin on. Go to get your spa on. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub and in your drink. Go for the stakes and the steak. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in just a few in our innovation and tech segment brought to you by Caldwell Soames, we have Paul Caldwell, returning contributor, joined by his good friend Susan and Nate. Today we are chatting innovation, how nonprofits are jumping on the NFT crypto craze, the fight against human trafficking, Operation Underground Railroad, United to One, and how it all fits together. We have Paul Caldwell, chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames, joined by Nate Lewis, who is currently the VP of Development at Operation Underground Railroad, OUR. They exist to rescue children and adults from modern-day slavery and assist survivors on their healing journey. In the past 8 years, they've been able to assist in the arrests of more than 3,000 predators and rescued more than 5,000 individuals trapped in slavery. It is estimated that 40 million people are trapped in slavery today, more than any other time in our planet's history. Human trafficking is a $150 billion industry, and OUR is committed to fight this darkness using innovative technologies. Bringing me to the third guest of today's innovation and tech segment, Susan Giacona. She's executive VP of United to One, and United to One is integrating the OG Pay platform to more easily facilitate donations and giving. They are basically a third-party donor administrator for Operation Underground Railroad. And they're doing things like accepting cryptocurrencies for donations and working with artists that are in the NFT space. For those unfamiliar, OG Pay is a new way to use your money. You can send and receive money globally for free. Pay for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital cryptocurrencies. But today we are chatting about how its applications are being used to save lives. Welcome to the show, my dear friends.
Thank you.
Hi, Zan.
Thank you so much.
Paul, so nice to have you back. I recall once you said that OG Pay makes a positive impact every time you support artists and creators, and a percentage of every transaction goes towards supporting worthy causes around the world. How does OG Pay tie into Operation Underground Railroad?
Zan, you know, in the original digital team, which is the creator, the owner of OG Pay, and inside our private company's portfolio, came to us and said, "Hey, look, there's this organization, and we'd like to integrate OG Pay into this organization called United to One and Operation Underground Railroad." You know, I'd never heard of Operation Underground Railroad, and I'd never heard of United to One. So I thought, well, okay, let's take a look at this. So we dug in on it and ultimately figured out that really from a donor perspective, the OG Pay wallet and all that it facilitates, whether it be cryptocurrencies or whether it simply be an ability for people to move money from their OG Pay wallet into through United to One's OG Pay merchant wallet, and then the money ending up at OUR to help their mission to stint the modern, get this modern day slavery problem under control. And I don't really know if those kind of things ever really get under control, because if there's one kid in the world that's subject to that, it's out of control in my mind. I think these guys really work towards it. I mean, we really looked into them. We met with them. We talked with them. I think that it's a great mission because it will expedite, and it will also create a higher degree of awareness. I think that's the issue, because I myself, I had never heard of it when it was brought to us as an opportunity. And I mean, that doesn't really mean anything. There's a lot of things I don't know about, but when it comes to these kinds of things, I have my ear to the ground, especially Children's Miracle Network and so forth. I think the opportunity for them to use this as a platform to create additional awareness and get their message out more broadly around the world, not just in the US necessarily, because OG Pay is a global solution. So I think that's the main thing.
Got it. Got it. Well, it sounds, listen, when you can take innovative companies and platforms like OG Pay and you can use them to do good for the greater good, then it's a beautiful thing. Susanna, welcome to the show. That's
Thank you
Susan,
so
right?
much.
Susan Jim. Welcome to the show. Now, what a great platform you have as a third party middleman, so to speak. But I have a very specific question for you. Blockchain is a promising technology for charities as they look to promote transparency and at the same time, what exactly what you're about, cut the risk of fraud. Now, not non-fungible tokens are also big news of late, with like astronomical sums of cryptocurrency being paid for intangible artwork. Your mission is to assist these organizations by providing them a system which will aid in a seamless continuity in monetary giving and receiving. And you're aiming to ease the burden, so to speak, of consistency in funding. What innovative ways is United to One using to help OUR in their heroic fight against human trafficking?
Well, basically, we're providing a situation where, as you said, we're going to create, or we are creating a method by which OUR can have consistent funding. They know they can count on it. That's a major contributor to the stresses of 501c3 faces, is that consistent funding. And so to answer your question about the innovation, we're using the OG Pay platform to make it easy for people to do what they already do, all of their banking and financial business, and at the same time be able to either round up at each purchase or do a consistent hard number every month, $10, $20, what have you. So it's going to be their choice. And OG Pay has such an innovative system there that they're able to work with us on providing the choice for people. And people like to have choices, especially for giving.
I agree. If you make it easy for the person on the other end to donate, then it's just literally a click. If they have to go research, find a website, input their information, you probably lose that momentum. So you are 100% correct. That's how it is for me, at least. Nate, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, listen, I have a pretty cool question for you, and I want to take us back to history. The Underground Railroad created a path to freedom, and you were inspired to do the same, hence the name. And we definitely need to fight modern day slavery. What are the parallels between historic and modern day slavery?
Well, Paul mentioned awareness, and I think that that's one of the biggest elements of all of this, right? Is people just aren't aware of it. And, when the Underground Railroad existed in the 18th century, it was really the people who were talking about it and we say getting loud about it. And there were so many people who didn't know this was happening and the, slavery existed and to the level of degree that it existed. And I think that today it's very similar. There's a lot of people who don't understand, there's so many forms of slavery, whether it's organ harvesting or child sacrifice or sex slaves or labor slave is one of the largest in the world. And people don't know that it exists. It is happening right here in the United States, online, on social media, exploitations everywhere. And I think that awareness is key. And that's what we're trying to do, not only with, Harriet Tubman or whoever, these people who wrote these books to raise awareness. We're doing the same thing, not only with, social media, but we have our own documentaries and certain things that we're doing to help get that awareness out there. And then obviously shows like this help get that word out there as well.
Oh, you got it, without a doubt. This is all about bringing a voice to the voiceless. I'm going to throw this one back to Paul. Paul, how will NFTs and cryptocurrency be integral in the fight against human trafficking in this particular case?
Zen, I find it interesting when you think about the correlation. I mean, correlation does not equal causation, granted, but correlation is important when you can think about you sort of just connecting the dots. If you put NFTs, think about NFTs. Who goes and buys these NFTs on the Ethereum platform or inside the OG2D platform, which is all minted in Algorand, but allows people to purchase with any cryptocurrency? Who does that? Well, typically from the crypto side of the business, and granted, cryptocurrency diffusion or acceptance around the world, I should say, is a small percentage of the overall global transactions that get processed. It's very small relative to fiat currencies. However, the people that have these currencies, that buy these NFTs, the non-fungible tokens on the marketplaces, typically are speculators. They're buying the NFTs because they think they may be, valued here today and then here tomorrow. And they can buy and sell and trade them on the NFT marketplaces in the secondary markets. Well, they're using profits that they have in Ethereum, typically, or other cryptocurrencies to be able to buy these tokens. Same kind of thing. How difficult if we create awareness to these same people that are speculating on NFTs, how easy might it be for them to just donate $20 of Ethereum every month? Think about that. It's very easy. It's a smooth path. And because OGPay can facilitate that with an instant conversion in the crypto OTC markets through its liquidity provisioning platform, the technology married to the mission is what really makes a lot of sense. And so from an NFT, pure play NFT point of view, there are a lot of creators, a lot of artists, a lot of people that are on the OUR mission. I mean, you talk to these creators, nobody likes child trafficking, right? I mean,
Right.
They just don't unless you're the trafficker.
Yes. Okay, good. Susan, we have about 2.5 minutes left, and I want to make sure I get Nate, one more question in for Nate. But Susan, funding is key to basically any organization's success. How are cryptocurrencies and NFTs basically shaping donations in like under a minute? Sorry to put you on the clock here.
That's okay. So actually, great question. And I love the answer because it really opens the doors to just that many more people. Also, it opens the doors to, we'll just call them younger generations that are very well versed in trading crypto. And, it just pulls in just so many more donors for Operation Underground Railroad. And that's exciting.
It is very exciting because I do feel that you have Gen Alpha and millennials, and now you have all these artists that want to jump on the OUR mission. And this is a great way because now you're talking to a different generation, hence a different demographic, hence a different way of giving. Beautiful. I love it. Nate, definitely want to hear from you a bit more. What's the toughest challenge OUR is facing within the battle against human trafficking?
Oh, wow. That has so many answers. The largest, I guess, force is evil. It really, truly is. I know it might sound cliche, but really, truly, because even the good guys that we think we're working with, local law enforcement in certain countries, are corrupt. And so dealing with that, borders, we're an international organization. So borders being shut down, being able to do the work has been a challenge just recently. expanding and finding the technology and staying far in advance of these traffickers is something that we're always fighting with. We can't do what we do without funding. So funding is always going to be a challenge because we can't do what we're best at without the funding. And technology, we're always advancing in technology. We could talk for an hour on technology, from infrared drones to ATAC systems to software that's reverse aging and all the online investigations, all the way to canines that we have that smell out SD cards and find this evidence. But I missed like a dozen or more challenges that we face as our group and as all of the NGOs out there doing this work against human trafficking. There's not one great answer, unfortunately. It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. Well, guys, listen, Paul, thank you so much for bringing this beautiful interview together. I love talking to you, Susan. Nate, you are so inspirational. Thank you for the work that you do. It was a pleasure to have you guys on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You got it, guys. Definitely check out Operation Underground Railroad. Head to ourrescue.org. Also check out United21. Go to united21.com. And of course, Paul Caldwell at Caldwell's Homes, Chairman and CEO, always bringing us the latest in our innovation and tech segment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few, we have the Scandals segment with Imran Ansari of Idala Bertuna Commons, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. We're going to be chatting about the ongoing legal battle involving the death of Ahmaud Arbery. Now, he was shot on February 23rd, 2020, in a confrontation with a father-son duo, Gregory and Travis McMichael. It took more than 2 months for the men to be arrested, along with their neighbor who filmed the death. Lawyers for Mr. Arbery's family have called his death a modern-day lynching. The McMichaels argue that they were defending themselves while trying to make a citizen's arrest. Here's what we know so far. They each face 9 charges, including murder and aggravated assault. They pleaded not guilty and deny any racism. Yet, prosecutors have argued racism was a key factor in this case. In her opening statement, lead prosecutor Linda Dunikoski told the jury all 3 of these defendants did everything they did based on assumptions, not facts, not evidence. And on November 8th, the jury saw footage from police body cams in the moments just after Mr. Arbery was killed. Prosecutors used the video in court in an effort to undermine the defense's argument that the 3 men were simply trying to detain Mr. Arbery. Now, despite protests from prosecutors, only 1 Black member is seated on the 12-person jury. Defense lawyers ruled out some African-American candidates for the panel, for that panel, citing that their possible preconceived bias on the case was under questioning. Now, the defense has employed a 2-part strategy: citizen's arrest and self-defense. It was obvious that he was attacking me, that he had gotten the shotgun from me. It was a life or death situation, is what Travis McMichael told the court. But here to break it all down is legal contributor and expert Imran Ansari. Welcome back, my dear friend. What another scandal we have on our hands.
Yeah, Zen, thank you for having me. Always great to be on the show and break down legal news with you.
Gosh, what is happening here? They're currently deciding the fate of these 3 men who could possibly be facing life in prison. Tell me what's going on, Imran.
Yeah, so Zen, there is really some tremendous legal news happening right now. We are fresh off the Kyle Rittenhouse trial verdict, and what you have here is the trial of Ahmaud Arbery, and you gave a great synopsis as to the background here, Zen. And really, these 3 defendants, they are claiming self-defense, and they are saying that they had the right to do what they did. based on a citizen's arrest and self-defense. This is a tremendously different case, though, than Kyle Rittenhouse. Here we have the defendants pursuing Ahmaud Arbery, an African-American. Ahmaud Arbery is essentially retreating, running down the road, and you have them all in 2 pickup trucks following him. So we have what prosecutor Linda Dunikoski has had as a theme during this trial. She is arguing that the defendants decided their actions based on assumptions and driveway decisions, meaning A, they didn't have the right to do a citizen's arrest because they didn't see Ahmaud Arbery committing any sort of crime. And then B, they don't have the right to say self-defense because they were pursuing Ahmaud Arbery while he was trying to retreat, and therefore they could not use the deadly force. Right now, the jury is going to get this case. We are leading into Thanksgiving holiday. I think they're going to be deliberating, but it's in really a case which is going to say a lot in terms of race relations because it's heavily infused with the dynamic of race, and also more polarizing of the nation, as we saw in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial.
This is kind of what's troubling to me is that so Mr. Arbery was out for an afternoon jog, right, in Brunswick back February of last year, and one of the McMichaels, I think it was the father, he was a neighborhood resident. He saw a black man running down the street and then he pursued him. I mean, right there, racism is playing into this because if he was a white man running down the street, chances are their reaction would have been very different. So where do you think this case is going to end up going in terms of this, because it's so heavily racially charged? Do you think that after coming off this Rittenhouse case and where a white man was on, basically on the stand, and he essentially was exonerated of every single of everything? Maybe it's because he was white. I don't know. Where's the parallel here?
Well, then, again, they are different cases. There are some parallels in the sense that they're 2 very polarizing cases for the nation. But the Arbery trial, you really can't sort of separate the race factor here. And what's interesting is that the defense attorneys have made comments which arguably sort of are towing the line of racial innuendo. For example, Kevin Goff, who is who is the attorney for William Roddy Bryan, he was the individual who was following the McMichaels in his pickup truck and filmed that infamous video that went viral and which is part of this case as evidence. His attorney has made comments that we don't need more black pastors in the courtroom when Reverend Al Sharpton was in there, and also Reverend Jesse Jackson. And then yesterday, in summations, you had the attorney for Gregory McMichael. She made a comment that about Ahmaud Arbery's dirty toenails, and people are saying that is also racially tinged, making some allusion to slaves and that the fact that they were working in the fields. So there's a lot of racial inferences in this case, and I think that the verdict, we're going to have to watch how that plays out. But this is really something which, again, is very polarizing. But I think that the prosecution has a much better case here, and they're putting on a better case than the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I think the prosecution is hitting home that this was based on assumptions and driveway decisions, not hard evidence and real facts that the McMichaels knew, and that they were not justified in taking Ahmaud Arbery's life.
Agreed. And what's the law in Georgia? I mean, under the citizen's arrest law, an individual could detain someone they had seen committing a serious crime, and if the suspect was trying to escape. I mean, the state law, which dates back to the American Civil War era, was repealed in the wake of the incident. And Georgia was also one of only 4 states at the time with hate crime statutes, and hate crime legislation has since been passed into effect. So you do have a lot, this case is not just your average, like you said. It's tying into a lot of it's playing into a lot of emotions. It's definitely playing into the race card. And I think based on where our climate is, where we are these days, I think all of this, like you said, the comments, the racially charged, descriptions, the insensitivity, all of that is going to come into play, because I just don't see personally how these 3 men get off the hook. I just don't see it. The man was not armed walking down the street. He was black. He was running. It paints a picture that I don't even want to talk about anymore because it's clear as day in just a matter of moments of understanding where this is going.
Yeah, no, Zen, I mean, you have it on video, right? And it was William Roddy Bryan, one of the defendants, who filmed the whole thing. And the video is very telling. In order to, that self-defense argument, there needs to be a fear of that there's going to be deadly force used against the one who is now claiming self-defense in their actions of taking a life. Here you have Ahmaud Arbery retreating. They are following him. The whole citizen's arrest aspect and that argument by the defense, well, the prosecution is arguing that falls flat because, again, they had no real proof that Ahmaud Arbery committed any crime. So they can't alleviate themselves from that citizen's arrest or with that citizen's arrest argument. And then that goes out the window. Then the pursuit of Ahmaud Arbery and the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, then the self-defense aspect of that action also may go out the window.
Oh, without a doubt. Look, the defendants assumed Mr. Arbery had committed a crime and they tried to unlawfully detain him without legal authority. You can't create the situation and then say, I was defending myself. All three defendants had made their decision because Mr. Arbery was Black and he was a black man running down the street, period, in the end. I mean, this case seems to be a layup here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the prosecution is arguing, Zen. The jury will have the case and they will make that ultimate decision. But I think that the prosecution has painted out a great case for the prosecution. They got to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, show that it's not self-defense. And I think they're really leading this jury down that path. But again, as a trial attorney, I could tell you juries have surprised me countless times. We all say this as trial attorneys. You never really know until they come back with that verdict.
Well, obviously, especially the climate and the world we live in today. You're right. I mean, anything is possible. You don't know what people are thinking, and perhaps this panel of jurors is very far removed from your regular media, and they are not per se so enthralled with the whole racism and perhaps making their decision strictly based on the evidence. But even if you go with just the evidence, and the McMichaels had said that there were a series of break-ins that led them to feel that he was potentially, coming off of a break-in or whatnot. Police said that there was no reports that were filed regarding these alleged break-ins. So again, you have the McMichaels thinking they're greater than God. They bring in their neighbor who basically assists them in this fiasco, and a man's life is lost. And for me to see this play out in a quiet neighborhood feels very racially charged because nothing like that had ever happened in that neighborhood, so to speak. So yeah, this is quite disturbing, to say the least. It's one of the cases that, I'm reading more and more about, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is where we've ended up. It's very sad. It's very disheartening.
Yeah, no, and Zen, it really shows also the sort of differences in the nation. I'm sitting here in New York City with Fifth Avenue down there. That this case, if it happened up in New York City, would play out in a tremendously different way. The jury makeup would be different. Sort of social norms and perceptions and biases would be different. So we will have to see how it plays out. But that is the essence of our country, the jury trial and our Constitution and our justice system, which I will always say is the best in the world. When the jury speaks, the jury speaks. Sometimes we are not happy, but we will see how this plays out in court, Zen.
Without a doubt, we're going to see. I hope justice is served in this case. I don't like to take sides. I like to let these scandal segments speak for themselves, the same way that I was advocating for Britney Spears to be freed, and she finally did. In this particular case, when you have racial comments within the courtroom and you have individuals pointing out dirty toenails, when a post-mortem examination showed Mr. Arbery had 2 gunshot wounds in his chest and a gunshot graze wound on the inside of one of his wrists, and that's what she's talking about. This person's mother is in the courtroom. Very insensitive, Imran.
And Zen, his mother walked out with those comments, and we as lawyers, we're wordsmiths. We choose our words very wisely. It's part of our profession. So you can't say that the words used during summation and also during the the course of this trial by some of those defense attorneys were not calculated and chosen and thought through. And they do have that sort of connotation, which is very surprising in the context of this trial.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you. In this particular case, I am going to take a minute and pay respect to Ahmaud Arbery because his life ended too soon, regardless of what he was doing and where he was going. He was outmanned, outpowered, and bullied by people that were equipped with guns. And for me, it's kind of pick on someone your own size, so to speak, so I will take a minute to acknowledge his life. And hopefully the decision will bring justice, because justice has to be served in this case.
Absolutely, Zen. Any loss of life is a tragedy, and here we really do have a tragedy. We will see if justice is served.
Yeah, unarmed. This is such a tragic story. You guys are listening to A Moment of Zen. That was Imran Ansari, partner at ABK Law right here in New York City. That was the Scandals segment. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tempus, the next generation of the engagement economy, allowing people to make money on their data and earn cryptocurrency for the time they spend on things they already currently love to do. With Tempus, brands will have the ability to pay you directly for interacting with apps, watching videos, playing games, and more. Tempus, the time is now. Engage and earn.
Sari Katz here with this week's beauty tip for A Moment of Zen. What's the buzz in the beauty industry right now? Well, it's actually regarding cool-sculpting. Why? Model Linda Evangelista is currently suing the creators of cool-sculpting, Zeltique, for millions of dollars, claiming this device has permanently disfigured her and ruined her career. Well, is that even possible? Let's talk about cool-sculpting and how it works. So cool-sculpting is a device that was approved by the FDA in 2010 to treat stubborn areas of fat like the lower abdomen and the love handles. How does it work? Well, basically it uses an applicator that is applied to a stubborn area of fat or a fat roll and brings that applicator down to very low temperatures, thus cooling the fat cells and destroying them. Our body then sends in chemical cells to the area to digest and excrete those dead fat cells, and we see about a 25% reduction of fat cells in the area in which the applicators were applied. So what's the big deal about cool-sculpting, and is it harmful? Well, about 75 to 85% of patients are actually generally satisfied with the results. I could say personally that I was really happy with my own cool-sculpting results, but there is a rare incidence of a side effect called PAH, paradoxical adipose hyperplasia. What is that? It is an opposite effect of what we're intending to do. So with this device, we're intending to remove fat cells. In this case of this rare incidence, a body actually will do the opposite and produce extra fat cells in an area in which the applicator was applied. How is that even possible? We don't know the exact mechanism, but a theory is that the body is compensating and regenerating extra vessels to feed the areas in which the fat cells were destroyed, and thus feeding the existing fat cells, creating an increase in the fat cells that were left behind in an area that looks like a butter stick or almost the shape of the applicator. This fat is more dense, it's thick, and it's hard to get rid of. In most cases, we have to go back in with liposuction to remove that extra fat. Well, how common is that side effect? It's super, super rare. So studies show that the incidence of PAH is anywhere from 1 in 4,000 or 0.025% to 1 in 20,000 or 0.005% of cases. Like I said, it's really rare. Most patients are actually very happy with cool-sculpting, but this can be the explanation to why Linda Evangelista claims that she actually gained weight from cool-sculpting instead of losing weight. Do I know this for a fact that this happened to her? No, I am not involved in the case. I do not know this. Is it a potential side effect? Yes, and that is why it is important that you are aware of side effects of procedures, even non-invasive, non-surgical procedures, before you actually go to your appointment. So basically, know before you go, make educated decisions on your treatments, but generally these procedures are pretty safe. That's my tip of the day. Have a great day, and this is Sari on A Moment of Zen.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
We're almost at the end of our date, but here's some interesting news. The NFL defensive great Michael Strahan is going to be the next space tourist. Good Morning America co-host Michael Strahan is going to space next month. He turned 50 on Sunday, and he joined Laura Shepard, the eldest daughter of astronaut Alan Shepard, on the December 9th mission aboard the New Shepard, a spacecraft named after her father and the first American in space. The Blue Origin flight company headed by Jeff Bezos will also carry 4 paying customers and will be the third by the New Shepard craft this year to shuttle humans to space. The 10-minute flight, 5 minutes less than Alan Shepard's 1961 Mercury flight, will launch from West Texas carrying 6 people, 2 more than the previous 2 flights this year with humans on board. Remember to join me right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. Interesting facts, my friends. It's always coming through me. Every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710wr.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember, we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Android, and tune in and watch previous shows. We're also live on the Impact channel on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. Thank you to all of our sponsors. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Aikido Pharma, an early-stage pharmaceutical company developing innovative drugs for improving anti-cancer and antiviral therapies. Traded on the NASDAQ under ticker AIKI. They have first-in-class partnerships with leading medical universities like the University of Maryland and the University of Texas. To learn more, go to www.aikidopharma.com.